I really liked the content you were making. I think you do some really unique videos. So we'll definitely show some cool things that you've never seen before. Okay, that's good. I have a good selection I've brought out to speak about. So on the Spanish market, German-wise, you don't tend to see too many edged weapons because most Spanish collectors are focused on headgear and uniform pieces, mostly tunics, but you can find a few bits. Here is a police blade. In this case, it has a beautiful engraving for as a present in 1939. This is something you wouldn't usually find here in Spain, so we have to import these kind of items from around the world. But if you're lucky enough, you will find a few edged weapons that have some connection to Condor Legion. But other than that, German blades are hard to come across here in Spain. There are a few videos I remember.
Yeah.
I know there's a video with a couple videos with Thomas Whitman, and I've seen those videos and all the daggers he has. Impressive collection. I've seen many videos in hotel rooms after shows. I've seen videos in Cine. I've seen videos in the SOS. There's a whole bunch of videos. Alex's videos with daggers are very impressive. So yeah, I'm a big fan. So in Spain, what you will tend to find is usually, if you find an edged weapon, it usually tends to be parade. If it's not parade combat, you will only really find combat bayonets. But for the most part, you will find ceremonial weapons, nice SA daggers. You will find some SS daggers. And the few people who do collect edged weapons in Spain, very few collectors, but the few that do collect tend to be very high up, high-end collectors. So you will have SA leader daggers, or you'll have chained SS, or you'll have, ROM daggers, that kind of stuff, which you usually, you wouldn't see on the normal market. But that's what you'll usually find here in Spain. So during the Second World War, there are some bases here in Spain, and there were German troops here in Spain, mostly Kriegsmarine. So there are some items that did come, out of their presence here in Spain. But for the most part, items have come after the war. There were a lot of Nazis that traveled from Germany into Spain. Otto Skorzeny, Leon de Grelle, those are a few famous ones. And a lot of their items have resurfaced here. But for the most part, we don't really have edged weapons here. We have to import them from out of Spain because it's harder to find.
Mm-hmm. From the United States and from Europe? Yes?
Well, I would say that you will usually find edged weapons in France and Germany. In the United States, we can buy them because there are a lot of edged weapons in the United States, as you can see in Alex's videos. But it's a bit of a hassle with importing them through customs because Spanish laws aren't fans of edged weapons. So we do have to usually source them from other areas. Italy is another good source for edged weapons. So yeah, we're usually within Europe. You wouldn't really go outside of Europe. So I have a selection of the items I like the most. I brought them here to try to show, and hopefully some people find them interesting, as much as I do anyway. Excluding the edged weapon, we do have a selection of soft headgear and helmets here, which I think are pretty unique. We have a couple of general's caps, both in gold and in silver. We have a pre-1941 artillery SS officer's cap. And sadly, this cap used to be a lot better looking. It used to have matching insignia, but the previous owner, for some reason, decided to change the insignia. So now it's a mismatched insignia cap. We're still trying to figure out and get the original insignia so they could be matching. I love crushers. They're one of my favorite pieces of combat equipment. We have a few NCO SS caps. We have a Waffen SS and an Allgemeine SS with a beautiful interior with the ruins, which is quite nice. We have an officer's SS, and we have this, which is a pretty unique and extremely hard to find side cap It's a general's gold embroidered side cap. It's also named to a pretty famous general, and it's mint condition and a pretty big size. You just don't see these appear in the market. They're very, very hard to come across. And that's pretty much it for soft headgear that I brought out. But we do have a selection of helmets. We have some tricolor Luftwaffe, kind of a Normandy style paint job. These are getting harder and harder to find. I used to see them a lot in shows, but the prices on these have gone absolutely crazy in the last few years. Military is getting very expensive. Actually, there are 3 things you need if you want to collect militaria. That's time, space, and money. And I have just about enough time. I'm running low on money, and I'm running low on space too. So I have to move them and sell them. As much as I like them, some of these items are on the web page, and other items, of course, we don't have on the web page, but they're still for sale. Here we have a very nice tropical camouflage single decal M35. Also a very plain interior. Used to have a name, but that's not there anymore. It's a very odd scheme. It's almost like the way they used to paint Panther tanks. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those, but a very nice color scheme and hard to come across. The favorite of all of these helmets, my favorite, is this beautiful kind of Africa corpse, pink, what they call pink sand. So it's not really a tan color like this one you've seen before. It's more of a pinkish tone, and that was done on purpose because it actually camouflages much better. This one sadly has a bit of a crack here, but I mean, it's an excellent helmet, and you don't come across them anymore. I used to find these relatively often, but they're getting exceedingly rare. And finally, I have one last helmet, which is pretty nice too. A double decal, early first model decal, Luftwaffe, what they call kind of a flak cement camouflage. So it's a pretty good condition too. It's surprising, and it's untouched with a name on the inside. These were mostly used by flak units. It's that kind of tone of camouflage that they went for. It's pretty much just cement splotched on with a paintbrush. But yeah, these are, once again, camouflages are the thing right now. For some reason, they're selling like crazy. And I've been lucky enough to pick these up over the last few months. This one's been in my collection for a bit longer, but hey, I have to sell them at some point. And hopefully, there are a few customers out there that would be interested in them. And out of the last few items I brought out today, I have 2 Panzer Destruction badges, one in silver and one in gold. These are very hard to find nowadays. You can find the silver ones, but the gold are extremely hard to find. Silver one would have been awarded to German troops that would have knocked out a tank using an anti-tank weapon such as a Panzerfaust or a magnetic connection mine. So that would have been awarded for each tank you destroyed. You would have had it on your shoulder, or on your sleeve of your jacket on the right side. But after you killed, I believe, 4 or 5 tanks, you would have been awarded the gold one. Gold ones are impossible to come across. I've seen very few before, and this one is in impeccable condition. Luckily enough, it's already on hold for a very special client. But yeah, it's another one of the pieces that I hate selling because you don't really come across them, and I wish I could keep them. But as I said, there's 3 things you need in militaria, and one of them is money. So we have to sell some of our favorite items sometimes. And finally, I'll put these down here. Finally, we have a Panzer Assault badge, which doesn't look like anything quite too special, but it is marked 25. Now, this is the most common example of the numbered ones, and the finish is sort of there. It's kind of gone with time. But yeah, these are, once again, getting very rare and very hard to find, and a lot of people are searching for them. Very desirable. JFS maker, so it's a very nice one. And that's it. Yeah, that's about a small selection of items I brought out to show you. You just don't see these things coming out to the market as much as you used to, and the prices are getting pretty wild. But yeah, we've managed to get a few, so we're quite happy with it. The first item I ever bought, that's a good question. I started collecting US militaria but the first German item I ever got, I think, was a pair of K98 leather pouches. So I got those maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. And ever since then, I've been buying and selling, and I've gone a little bit crazy, and I've ended up with all this stuff which I never planned on having. So yeah, the first item I got was a pair of K98 leather pouches, and this goes to show that if you put time and dedication and you study a lot and you have a lot of luck, which I'm very lucky to have had, you can end up having a pretty nice collection. And behind I have a few tunics which I did want to show and talk about before. There's plenty of other tunics in the back, but this is just part of, as a showroom of what we have in stock. We have over 3,000 items in stock now, which is pretty crazy. So I went from 2 K98 pouches to 3,000 items in stock. It's pretty wild. As I said before, most people collect headgear, mostly soft headgear, hard headgear as in steel helmets and tunics. So that's what you'll find for the most part within Spain. It's just much easier for us to get these items here and import them from around Europe. Other than, for example, edged weapons, we just don't get edged weapons as much as we'd like to. So I'd say the thing that sells the most is definitely tunics, and right afterwards you'd find headgear. That's definitely it. A lot of people like setting up their uniforms in this kind of half a mannequin, so you only have the torso and the head, and you put your tunic and your headgear on. People don't usually put trousers or anything like that. So this is the most common style of displaying here in Spain. Well, here in Spain, I would say, first of all, there is a lack of shows, or at least quality shows. There are very few shows now, so we don't really get out there, and it's very hard to get to know more people and create a community. So collecting here in Spain has really turned into an individualistic kind of hobby. People have a few friends, but there's not a sense of collecting community as there might be in other places like the States. Other than that, in the world right now, as a worldwide problem, I'd say prices sometimes are getting absolutely out of hand. We've had items that we have sold, and within a year they have gone up 10, 20, 30% in value, which is crazy. It's making a lot of new collectors not be able to join the hobby because they cannot afford the items. And I do understand there's a high demand for certain items like these, but even like basic stuff like combat gear is getting completely out of hand. So I think we're in a sort of a bubble right now. Prices are going pretty high. Hopefully that bubble maintains itself, because we're all happy with it. But at one point, I suppose prices will drop slightly at some stage. But it's there's still a high demand for these items, so it's not going to be like a collapse of the market. And other issues, I don't think there's really many more issues with Militaria other than fakes. Fakes are a pretty big thing. I mean, for example, here you have a few SS items. 99% of the items that are on the market that are SS are fakes, or they're restored, or they're touched up, or whatever. So it is very hard to find untouched material. We used to find a lot more of it in shows, but there's no shows anymore. And whenever we do find it, it tends to be a fake. So getting a hand on original untouched items is getting pretty tough. So a lot of money. And a lot of fakes. That's it. Here we have a very nice complete Condor Legion pilot's uniform. This would have been what they would have worn when they came over to Spain. Now, supposedly they were not meant to really be here, so you will find that most of their gear does not contain any kind of German insignia. For example, belt buckles they carry are completely plain. They do not have the typical swastika or the Gott mit uns logo on them. More than anything because, as I said, they were not meant to be here. In this case, he's wearing a full one-size flight suit. This is in a kind of a summery cloth. The weather here in Spain does not really allow for heavier materials. And he's wearing also a summer flight hat. We have an original Condor Legion pilot's identification tag, and this would have been Spanish used in the Civil War, but also the Condor Legion used it a lot. It's a papers bag. They would have had maps in there. We have a few documents in there. And probably the rarest thing of this whole uniform are the boots. Now, the boots are in the typical brown color, or I should say atypical, because you will always find them in black, but finding them in brown is exceedingly rare. These are probably the rarest sort of pilot boots you can get. So here we have a few German helmets. We have a really nice double decal M40 helmet. This was dug up. We found it a few years ago. It's quite, I mean, I'm still shocked the fact that we found it, but it's pretty nice. We have a Waffen-SS camouflage face mask and a few other camouflage helmets. We have a very nice Normandy camouflage here, a kind of a subtle Normandy camouflage. These are getting very desirable and much harder to find nowadays, so we're quite happy the fact that we managed to get one of these. We always have a large stock of helmets because we always get a lot of orders in, so it's definitely, you know, we might have at a time anywhere between 25 to 50 helmets in the shop. So we try to have a little bit for everyone. So here we have two tunics. In this case, we have a combat tunic and a dress tunic. This is an M44 artilleryman's tunic for an officer, extremely late war. You can see many details that really show how this is a pretty much the end of the war tunic. Straight zip insignia, everything is stitched by machine. It's a beautiful tunic and it drapes beautifully. It's made in a very poor quality wool, very bad material, but obviously that's what they used to make the things at the end of the war. And on the other side, we have pretty much the complete opposite. A very early Austrian style Dienstrock with a very early Unteroffizier's cap. Everything done by hand. The cloth is absolutely incredible, a beautiful tricot, and it's it also has, this is something I have to note, a parade belt. Now, parade belts aren't like the normal belts. They have a felt interior to protect the tunic from getting damaged. And this one actually also contains the name of a Blue Division veteran. So this is pretty much, I think, the only parade belt that any Blue Division veterans ever brought back. These are, this is exceedingly rare to find one of these. So we're quite happy to have it in stock now. So this is a Russian Cossack volunteer in the German army. This would have been, they kind of made uniforms out of mismatched pieces. So amazingly enough, the tunic is made of linen. Now, I don't know who had the brilliant idea of making a tunic made out of linen, especially when you're in Russia. Even in summer, this thing is really, really light. There has golden buttons, which also belong to other styles of uniforms and not really combat. And many of the insignia here, I wouldn't say they're handmade, but they're definitely locally made. This uniform was sold a long time ago in a very famous auction site, and we managed to get a hold of it. It's a complete uniform. It comes from the same place, so we're definitely happy to have it. It's quite an unusual piece. You definitely wouldn't see this, at least here in Spain. We are fans of combat tunics. That's what we try to, usually have in store. So here we have two combat setups. We have what would have been an infantryman in Russia. It has a beautiful quilted style anorak, which is double-sided. It is kind of a greenish grey on the outside, almost like a mouse grey, and then on the inside is a beautiful white with a reversible hoodie too. And here we have a very nice officer's M36 tunic that's been cut and the pockets have been removed to be shortened, probably later on in the war. It also features a Gebirgsjäger patch, and this came out of a collection of a friend of ours. It's completely untouched. The cap doesn't belong on this tunic, but it's quite a nice one. It's a Gebirgsmütze, so it would be a Gebirgsjäger's enlisted man's cap with a beautiful Edelweiss in metal and a beautiful shape to it. It's one of those caps that, just looks right. We also have a few K98 pouches. We have more in stock. We always try to keep a bit of headgear, and we have quite a few of these Zeiss binoculars. So yeah, this is more or less the kind of thing that we tend to go for, because combat is, I think, what people usually like to get the most. Here we have a few other helmets. We have, for example, this beautiful anti-reflectant camouflage paint double decal M40. It's also in quite a big size and very good condition. This one we got from a collection a while ago, and we're very happy to have it. The patina on it is absolutely insane. You just don't come across these helmets anymore, and they're definitely getting very expensive. We have a selection of helmets and pieces from other countries, but if we're focusing on German, I'll comment on this mint German Luftwaffe tropical tunic. It has a very late war kind of a trapezoid insignia, all original stitched. It's a really, really beautiful tunic. This would have been probably used, I'd suppose, in Italy more than anything, or any kind of tropical climate. We're still debating if this is a pilot or if this is a paratrooper, but I think we hopefully will eventually get to some kind of decision on them. We also have quite a rare piece. You don't see these at all. Condition is not the best, but this is an actual original SS pith helmet. It's missing the interior, but the insignia and the pith helmet itself are original. It's completely untouched since the war. And it's just one of those pieces that, you know, they're, again, 99.9% of them on the market are fake. But this is one of the few examples that do survive that are original. So it's definitely something, you know, pretty rare. And apart from that, we do collect German for the most part, but we do have in these little glass boxes a selection of Japanese militaria. But I won't bore you with that. We're going to stick to the German stuff. So let's see some more things. So this is a political uniform for a politician. We do have the trousers and boots for this uniform, which are quite incredible. Actually, I have the boots right here. Let me take them so you can see them. They're pretty special, and these are getting very hard to get. This is the political boot. It's one of my favorite designs for boots, with a beautiful double frog closing at the top. This is in beautiful condition too. We have the pair of them that actually belong to this uniform. We have the complete uniform. In this case, it's a Munich diplomat. He is wearing a very classical brown shirt with the early light blue piping, and the hat is also matching to the tunic. In this case, I think I'm not quite sure on the level. It's some kind of lighter. I completely forgot now which one it is. You can tell by the armband, but it's a relatively high-ranking diplomat. And yeah, the belt is also included in the set. It's exceedingly good condition, no moth damage, and definitely one of those rare finds. This one actually appeared here in Spain, so we're still trying to figure out if the guy actually came here after the war, or, you know, what's the story behind it? How did it end up here? We have a selection of awards and caps. In this case, some of the more notable ones would be, for example, this beautiful Lieutenant Kriegsmarine cap with its white original cover. Now these are, you can find them, they are quite sought after and they're pretty expensive, but this to me, condition-wise, is impossible to improve. This is, I wouldn't say mint, but is as close as it gets to mint, condition-wise. Very nice one. Here you have what would be a pretty normal side cap, M34 side cap, but in this condition it's nothing quite special. It did belong, however, to a Blue Division veteran, so it's that's what makes it a bit more of a rare piece. But if you want a pretty rare side cap, I definitely go for this one. Now this looks like an average M34 mint unissued. Now the only thing that's special about this one is the fact that it's a size 61. That's the biggest size of a cap I have ever seen. It's pretty incredible. This one came out of the States. It was a veteran bring back, and I'm definitely quite happy. It doesn't fit me, but it fits most people, so it's in very good condition. We have a few Spanish awards, but I won't bore you with that. We have a mint Luftwaffe Medics NCO cap. In this condition, excluding a little bit of damage on the brim, the shape is absolutely magnificent. There's not a single moth hole. It still retains that kind of plushiness, which most caps lose with time. And it's absolutely untouched, so definitely a very nice piece, and one of the nicer Luftwaffe ones we have. Other than that, we do have some cased awards, but these are pretty average, not in exceedingly good condition. We do have some other Spanish awards, and most of the things we have down there is personal equipment. So it wouldn't be anything to build a uniform. More than anything, it would be to complete a uniform. So yeah, that's what we have for this drawer.